So after binging Crossbeat, next on the chopping block was A Bad Cynic Doggo. I already said that I thought the direction they were going with the story was pretty interesting, and that I was looking forward to where they take this. 3 volumes later, and for the most part, I think they delivered. I don't know why I thought there was only going to be 3 parts, but apparently I was wrong because at the end of this volume is yet another cliffhanger. Anyways, let me summarize the story so far for those of you who haven't read it yet. This is also your spoiler warning. We start off with a live show from the perspective of an onlooker, admiring the Rinky Dink in all her glory. But it's not an audience member, it's Amy, a member of our new unit who went on stage right before Happy Around and flopped. She's a bit bummed that the performance went poorly, and the Rinky Dink accidentally wanders into their green room, rubbing salt in the wound with her positivity. It turns out that Amy is very bad at talking to people outside of her unit, and Belle and Chica have to cover for her awkward responses. They go to a family restaurant to talk about the live before being kicked out for pretending to sniff drugs. The next day they receive news that their club, the Doghouse, is going under due to poor business, and Amy devises a plan to save it. She plans to challenge one of the famous units of their generation, which includes these, and win in order to chase an underdog headline where a hitherto unknown unit beats a D4 Fest contender. They choose to specifically challenge a Yoba unit, which rules out Mermaid Rondo and Lyra Lily. Chica has a strong fondness for Kyoko, so she doesn't want to challenge Piki. And Photon Maiden is too official with an entire agency behind them, so they settle on Happy Around. Of course, the Rinky Dink gladly accepts with a smile that could blind the population of Canada. As they prepare for the live, Amy is forced to hand out flyers, and some of her classmates, whose names she can't even remember, tell her that they're excited to see both them and Happy Around perform, though Amy has an insane inferiority complex, so she only really hears that they're excited for Happy Around. They go head to head, and unsurprisingly, Happy Around wins. Amy and the others are sad that their venue is going to close, but they don't say anything to the Happy Around members. Everyone but Rinku realizes this anyway, and they try to help out by spreading the word about the club. The club gets busy, and they start to have hope that they won't have to close, but Amy's inferiority complex has some, well, complex feelings about this. We then flash back to the first D4 Fest rookie stage where ABCD, then known as Mad Doggo, lost to Happy Around for the first time. The rest of the contenders were frustrated, but Amy distanced herself from the loss and therefore didn't feel much. Back in the present, Amy is doing the same thing, but Chica calls her out on it, which is where this volume ends. Now, shoddy translation aside, I think the story is really well done. I'm learning Japanese, so I can pretty much just fix the mistranslations in my head, but for a translation that actually makes sense, I recommend Hannah Garden's channel. Anyways, I think ABCD's story is really well written so far. Maybe it's because I'm coming straight off of Crossbeat where nothing makes sense and all the characters act like, well, characters, but ABCD's grounded tone where the characters act like actual human beings was really refreshing. A while ago, there was a post where someone suggested that an average person give a demonstration in the Olympics to get a frame of reference for how normal people would perform, making the Olympic athletes look that much more impressive, and this sort of felt like that, but for D4DJ. I often joke that Happy Around doesn't win anything, but that's because all of the conflicts that we see them in are against other top units of their generation. The Doggos are like your average person trying to compete in a DJ world without the plot armor of being a main unit. As a result, the tone is completely different from other D4DJ stories centered on the more colorful units. And when I say more colorful, I mean both figuratively and literally. Looking at the character designs, yes, Belle has pink hair and Date-chan has red eyes, but the overall vibe of their character designs lacks that pop that the rest of the units have. And that doesn't mean I think their designs are bland or bad, in fact, I think they're genius. They don't jump at you like Rinku, but that's intentional. And as a result, a story where those eye-grabbing character designs are absent feels much more down to earth, and after that crazy AI adventure, almost dull. I don't think it was on purpose at all, but that juxtaposition of a world-ending threat to some bored high school girls does such a good job at highlighting the mundanity that Amy feels and how she thinks of herself as a side character. Happy Around feels larger than life. Rinku is a girl who sweeps people into her shenanigans and bends the world around her with her sheer positivity. Stories about Happy Around always have a happy ending. Rinku's positivity wouldn't let it be any other way. The Doggos, on the other hand, sort of suck the hope out of the story. I think there's a really cool contrast with specifically Mermaid's unit story. Rika and the girls find this nightclub they really like, but it's closing. Mermaid decides that the club should go out with a bang and they invite everyone they can reach. As a result, the club is packed for its last performance and the owner says he's glad he could end it on a high note. As for the Doggos, they're in a similar situation where their club is closing and one of their final live shows is the most packed any of the girls have seen it in their time there. The owner thanks them for bringing such a large crowd, and this is a very similar moment to the Mermaid story, but the tone is completely different. It's not a triumphant moment, but a bitter taste as the club being so packed is just a reminder of what potential they're losing when the club closes. Also, most of the story, Rinku and Kyoko kinda just flash on screen and walk by without saying anything. This was of course done to save the voice actors a trip to the studio for 1 or 2 lines, but it ended up working out really well doing 2 things. First, it shows Amy's inferiority complex by portraying them as sparkling, untouchable gods who don't waste their time talking to normal people. And second, when we actually do get some good old rinky-dink in the story, the whole tone shifts. The beginning, after Rinku leaves the green room, feels like a desperate struggle. But as soon as Rinku appears and actually starts talking, there's hope again. She revives the underground club with a single tweet. But just as suddenly as she brought hope into the story, when she leaves, everything starts to feel cynical again. I really love what they've done with the tone and character design in these stories, and I hope they can stick the landing. But until then, feel free to let me know your opinions on the new unit and story.